This experience isn't my own, but actually, it was a story told to me by a good friend of mine years ago. The story was that he was a model employee of a catering facility who was well respected and did a good job whenever he was on shift. The details of the catering company were that it did events for corporate sponsors as well as influential businesses. Despite the fact that when he was originally hired, he was still a student at university, he earned the respect of all he had associated with and worked for at the job. He remained with the catering company for a number of years and later became a very experienced and seasoned veteran at the catering company. Eventually, he was then out his final year in university and was seriously considering becoming a senior caterer once he was finished with his education because he enjoyed the work so much. An assistant CEO at the company was also considering him for a high tier position, and my friend was going to later go into talks with him once his final term was completed. However, his supervisor retired and a new supervisor came into the job and was one of those individuals who use toxicity and intimidation to assert themselves. People had their concerns about this new supervisor for unknown reasons. This new supervisor then focused in on my friend due to the fact that he had to come in for his shift slightly later each morning. His morning classes were earlier and his commute time had to be taken into consideration by the time he got to the catering facility, just under a half hour after the technical start of the workday. But he always worked good and held his own, so it was an unspoken arrangement that he had with the company to come in slightly later for years. The new supervisor immediately focused in on my friend and started to harass him and made formal complaints about his lateness. The other caterers who were helped by him and knew him for many years didn't like the fact that the new supervisor was focusing on my friend and were voicing their concerns to management as well. But since the new supervisor was technically right about him not being at the catering facility at the scheduled start of the workday, there was nothing they could do. My friend decided to actually fight back against the new supervisor and took them to court over the harassment, but the new supervisor won the lawsuit. He spent 2 days in the court, and the experience shattered him, and he was naturally tired of the job. As a result of what happened to him, he had no other choice but to quit. What made it worse is that this occurred during the end of year celebrations and he couldn't go to the company party. A few weeks before the party, he came by the catering facility to pick up his belongings and formally submit his resignation. When word spread through the company that he actually resigned, there were more than a few people who didn't like the decision, as the company reached out to him and insisted that he come to the company's celebration for all of the work that he had done over the years. At first he didn't want to go, but when his co-workers were willing to vouch for him and even pay for his expenses to go to the party, he decided to go. When he arrived at the location for the celebrations, it was just like old times and everyone was having a pleasant experience. The CEO of the catering company later came to the event and personally explained the situation to him and was even able to get his job back after a bit of legalities. My friend was still mentally shattered by the whole experience and politely refused. The CEO even offered a pay raise and slightly more benefits, but my friend still refused. He was thankful for all that the company had done for him, but the new supervisor ruined the job for him at the catering company. After spending a little bit of time there and seeing some of his co-workers as well as his colleagues, he later left, and from what he was told, the entire celebration after he had left became a bit somber and even sad as a result. From what my friend was later told by co-workers he kept in contact with over the next few days at the catering company, the new supervisor then started to focus on other employees On fearing what happened to my friend would happen to them, the new supervisor later had formal complaints written against that particular person. After less than 6 months at the catering company, the new supervisor was sacked from the job. My friend took a few weeks to himself before he searched for a new job and later found a new occupation for himself. But the experience with the catering company was a lesson for my friend as well as the company itself. If toxic management isn't taken care of quickly, good workers will leave wherever they are, and the reputation of wherever it is that's affected would undoubtedly suffer.